What's up, guys? We're back with another review, but we're not talking toys. Well, not necessarily today. There's toys involved, but we're talking about something a little bit different and something that I am definitely new to. So I have never, ever graded a toy before, but I have submitted 2 pieces recently to Collector Archive Services, CAS, and got them back recently. So we're taking a look at just the process, what I got, what I submitted, what was sent back to me, how it all worked, and just the finished product. I'm not, unfamiliar to putting figures in storage of any kind or nice acrylic cases like this. But grading is a whole other different story, and I've really been curious for a very long time what is involved. So I've got one of the 2 here right now, and this is the easier of the 2 to hold and display. So this is the San Diego Comic-Con 2019 Black Series Boba Fett, but this is the Kenner version. So this is the one on the holographic card, and then it's got, the holographic backer card, all that good stuff. But this is Kenner Fett in the Black Series. And the other one that I got is something that I thought would be a little bit different, maybe something that probably doesn't exist too much in the world so far, just because the line is still relatively new. I got an Ultimates graded, so I got a Leonardo Super 7 Ultimates graded as well, and we'll take a look at how that one is so very different from this guy, just because of the fact that it comes in a slipcover. So I would normally say, let's pull it out and take a look, but instead we're gonna do it. We're gonna take a look. And here we go. We're gonna start with Boba, and then we are gonna get to Leonardo. He gets the place of prominence as being the one we will finish with, because I do think it's the more exciting piece just from a presentation standpoint. So again, we're going to talk about 2 pieces that I submitted for grading to CAS, Collector Archive Services. So they have done the SDCC Boba Fett for me, the Black Series, and an Ultimates, a Super 7 Ultimates Leonardo. So these guys, what they do is, you submit your product to them. You can do it in person if they're at a convention that you're near, or you mail it to them, and you can go through their website. They have kind of pre-made templates for various things, like Boba Fett here, that's already kind of an existing type of figure. Or if you got something a little more offbeat, a little crazier in its packaging, like a Super 7 Ultimates, you could submit a custom request. They do all sorts of stuff. I will post links down below to, of course, their website, to their socials, because you can see the wildest stuff on their social media. Ancient, incredibly rare loose figures. They graded and slabbed a boxed Razor Crest. They'll do a box with a loose figure next to it. It's just really wild how they managed to make these acrylic cases. And that's the big thing for me when it comes to these, is not just the grade, it's the preservation aspect of it. Because I've done plenty of figures in acrylic cases before. I do it with a lot of Star Wars figures that are autographed. And it's just a nice way to preserve them. They look great on a shelf. So that's really cool. But what they've done with these seems a little bit more premium, especially with the Super 7 figure. It's a lot more customized to the type of figure that you're submitting, and it just looks incredibly clean. So, Boba here is in probably one of the more, I would say, normal cases when it comes to this. So he's just a carded figure, so he's sitting in there, and then there's these little channels that the card sits in to keep him from moving around. It does, of course, add a little bit of bulk to the figure to make it be protected and preserved, but I think it looks fantastic. The case is really nicely done. You do get, of course, our grade down here, so you got a 90, and it gives you a bunch of information on what it is. So it tells you who did it, of course, Collector Archive Services. You've got the figure name, the score, there's a QR code, there's a hologram, and all of this stuff kind of matches up to something else that they provide that I do really like. It's like a certificate of authenticity. It's called the Statement of Archival, so it gives you an idea of just a little bit more, provenance to what it is. So it tells you who did it, what it's called, the grade, all of that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you've got a matching hologram to go with the case, but you also get a picture of what you submitted after it's been graded. So there's a little bit, it's a little bit more, succinct in terms of what has been graded. And I do really like this. It's just a little bit more, I guess, professional looking when it comes to showing it off. And then, of course, if you were going to sell the graded piece, then you could kind of add that in as another way to show that it is indeed legit. Now, one thing, of course, to mention is that this is a paid service, obviously, so you do pay for what you're getting here. I'll put links down below so you can check out pricing. It's going to vary between how quickly you want it, so you can expedite them, which is like $200 to get them expedited. There are various levels of service for how long it takes, and that can take a while. You know, some can take up to 5-6 months in order to get things done because they are seriously ramping up production, it seems. But then, of course, as far as like something like this, you know, there's pre-made templates on the website where you can kind of pick things and it'll immediately tell you how much it'll cost to grade it. Or then like the Super 7 Ultimates figure that we'll be talking about here in a second, just kind of show off that case, you'll be able to submit a custom piece and then they'll get back to you on pricing because it's going to be a little different. Obviously, the case itself is a huge part of this. It's not just grading, it's the case too. You know, if you were to buy a case like this, just, you know, at a convention or something, you're talking $20-25 for the case alone usually. So for the price that this thing cost, I'm not too upset about what it would cost to actually do this stuff because the case is such a huge part of it. Custom made acrylic cases are always really, really expensive, but I think you definitely are going to get what you pay for when it comes to these, just because they do seem a little bit more premium. These do seem a little bit more robust in many ways than just the regular quote-unquote non-graded cases that I already have in my collection. And then here's the big one, literally and figuratively the big one. So this is the one that I was most excited about trying to get graded, trying to get put into a case, because, well, it's an Ultimates figure, so it gets a slipcover. Which automatically you think, well, it's going to be in a box, you're never going to get to see the figure, but CAS is really good about being able to get creative with how you display this stuff. And like I said before, they grade just about anything and they put some crazy stuff into these acrylic cases. So I was really curious to see how they were going to incorporate the slipcover aspect for Ultimates into, you know, one of these graded cases. So of course I had to go with Leo because, well, he's my favorite, so Leo gets to be immortalized and preserved forever, I suppose. So they were able to put the slipcover in one side and then the figure in the other. So this is a huge case. I mean, I really can't stress how big this is. You know, here's a good example. So we've already talked about Boba. There's Boba for comparison. So he's in a slightly taller case, but obviously it's a much wider situation when it comes to the Ultimates. And what I really like about this is how they were able to present this. That's obviously the big thing here, is presentation and what we're actually able to see. So you get the entire effect of the slipcover presentation, and you get to see the figure in all of his glory at the same time, because just slabbing this thing with the slipcover on top of it would not have been enough. And then you can see, you know, it's got all of these sort of protective boundaries on the inside that are attached to the inner walls of the case, so that the slipcover and the figure, they don't, you know, bash into each other, they stay in place. And they, you know, it sort of adds another little bit of depth and dimension to the box as well, because there's a little bit more in there than just these two boxes. So there are these inner frames, and that's another big aspect of this that you don't really see specifically with the Boba figure, is that when they have to do something like this, it just looks so much cooler. Like this is a lot cooler than I really expected it was going to be. I kind of figured they were going to do something along these lines when it came to incorporating the slipcover in, but when you see it in person, it absolutely changes your perception on what this can be when it comes to grading, and more specifically for me, preserving the inbox look while still being able to see the figure. So I'm really happy with this. Now, you know, of course, you take a look at more aspects of this, and you can kind of see, you know, you've still got the same situation as the Boba, so it is a very form-fitting acrylic case. So it's fully sealed and enclosed, so it protects it from, you know, the elements, from just light in general, and then of course allows you to see everything while of course still presenting the grade. You still get your hologram seal of approval in there, so you can see this is a 90 as well, just like Boba was, and then you get all of your sort of factual information about what the figure is, when it was released, how it's displayed, especially because this one is a little bit different. It's displayed as it's listed with the sleeve, not just a standalone figure. And then just like with Boba, like with all of their graded figures and toys, you do get to the archival statement. So you get, you know, it's kind of a rundown again. So it goes along with your sticker and the hologram, so it all matches up. So it tells you again, who did it, Collector Archive Services. It gives you the name of the figure, when it was archived, when it was created, who made it, the series, the sub-series here, it's custom because this is a custom thing because Ultimates is not something that they have really done a whole lot of yet. Again, one of the reasons why I was curious to see what they would do. And then, of course, you've got your hologram number to match it all up, and then the date that this was created, as well as what I really like is a picture of their finished product. So, I mean, yeah, this is really cool. Like, I'm really excited about this. I was never one to really go hard into ever wanting graded stuff. The idea of putting figures in an acrylic case, I definitely am all for it. I do it with a lot of figures that I get autographed. I got a bunch of Star Wars figures that are autographed that I've preserved in cases like this. But getting something graded is an entirely different step. So I'm really, really excited about the prospect of doing more. Now that I have one, I'm worried that I'm going to have to get more, but this has definitely been a really fun experience to be able to get to submit something that specifically with Leo that, they hadn't really done before, and also is something that just, I mean, let's be honest, this looks damn cool. So I'm really happy with the finished product here. And again, like I said previously, I will put links to everything for CAS down below, all their socials, because they're really ramping up their socials. Again, like I said, you can see some of the craziest graded stuff on their social media, and then of course a link to how to get to them. So that's it, guys. Big thanks again to CAS for taking care of grading these two figures. I cannot wait to hopefully one day soon find a very prominent place on the shelf for these guys. So that's it, guys. I'll catch you next time.